The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, "Who among you would say to your slave who has just come in from plowing or tending sheep in the field, 'Come here at once and take your place at table'? Would you not rather say to him, 'Prepare supper for me, put on your apron, and serve me while I eat and drink? Later you may eat and drink'? Do you thank the slave for doing what was commanded? So you also, when you have done all that you were ordered to do, say, 'We are worthless slaves. We have done only what we ought to have done.'" The Gospel of the Lord. We continue reading from Paul's letter to Titus. Paul had tried to convert the pagans, and he was traveling with various companions. One of them was Titus, who was much younger, and he had been training Titus up in the faith. He most likely ordained him as a bishop. And so he sent Titus to Crete in order to organize pastoral leadership on the island. It was made up of pagans mostly. And so he needed Titus as a bishop to ordain other bishops and priests, and also to appoint lay leaders. Now, part of the problem was there was false teaching going on at this time. In particular, with a vulnerable community like the people of Crete, the dangers from these false teachers was very real, so Paul had to make sure that sound doctrine was being preached. And that's why he sent Titus. Paul urges Titus then to not only appoint bishops and priests, but to form lay leaders, mentors, who could lead the people. So as we hear in the first reading, Paul says, "Teach what is consistent with sound doctrine. Tell the older men to be temperate, serious, prudent, and sound in faith and love and in endurance. Likewise, tell older women to be reverent in behavior, not to be slanderers or slaves to drink. They are to teach what is good, so that they may encourage the younger women." In other words, the older men and women are to act as mentors to the younger generation, and that was going to be very crucial in forming the community. Finally, Paul says it's all part of God's grace. So the primacy of grace is also at work in this island. And indeed, they would convert to be a very strong community. In the gospel, Jesus is forming disciples in order to lead others in the faith, and he is saying to the leaders, whether disciples or apostles, don't be caught up in spiritual pride. Just because you've been appointed to positions, especially the lay people as well, don't think that because you have done good works that you're owed something, either by God or by the community. In other words, an entitlement mentality. So he says, "Who among you would say to your slave who has just come in from plowing or tending sheep in the field, 'Come here and once and take your place at table'? Would you not rather say to him, 'Prepare supper for me and put on your apron and serve me'?" In other words, after we've done everything we can in service of God as in church, we should then say, as Jesus concludes, "We are worthless slaves. We have done only what we ought to have done." So humility is really at the core here. All of this teaching is instructive for us today because we're also trying to form this generation, those especially who are younger, in the ways of Christ. And so in our family of parishes, we're trying to organize co-responsible ministry teams of lay people, especially to head up major areas of ministry. And of course, formation is certainly needed. And so I'd ask you to keep that in your prayers, and also to look out for those formation opportunities we're going to be providing in the family of parishes. Many things are coming up. Check the bulletin and the website, because we're all in this together, and we're all called, as St. Paul called Titus and others, to act as teachers, mentors, and so on. I know there's lots of things, good things going on presently in the family of parishes, especially for our young people. So spread the word, because there's lots of formation opportunities right here going on right now, but the word has to get out. And let's make St. Paul proud of what we're doing here, and let's keep it all in our prayers.